Hey, Shabbat Shalom, Yasharala. All right. Back at it again with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemi Ashai and the Shabbat day. All right, just going through a couple of recent events, filled to the biblical prophecy. And just afraid to edify and exhort the lambs and sheep of Yahweh Shemi Ashai Adam Ratazah. All right. First and foremost, to give our praise, glory, infinite honor to our power and to uplift and magnify the righteousness of his glorious and almighty and everlasting righteous name, as well as to further edify and exhort the lamb and sheep once again and condemn the found and wicked. All right, so we're going through a couple of, touch on a couple of recent articles or some recent, incidents of judgment that just recently took place on his Mirth day. All right, it's been used, considered as a Mirth day, as a Memorial Day. A lot of people are using this day as an excuse to be gluttonous and worship Esau, Edom's pagan Greco-Roman gods of wine, and reveling, such as Dionysus and Bacchus and so forth. And so overall being a worldly spirit, all right, to be more in that, operating more in that spirit of feasting over mourning, all right, which the spirit of the Lord draws nearest, closest to those who are mourning. All right, so we're going to go through a couple of, just reference a couple of articles, filter everything in biblical prophecy, and Adam Rogers out to be further edifying and exhorting to elect. All right, so it's brother Malak Rayab. Got the brother.
This is brother Now Nachala.
Yeah, the brother Now Nachala with me. You know what I'm saying? Just doing just move through the spirit, and Adam Rogers out to be further edifying and exhorting to elect. So can you start off with Ezekiel 21:9?
Yeah, this is Ezekiel 21:9. Son of man, prophesy and say, thus saith the Lord. Say the sword is sharpened and also furbished.
Mm-hmm. And that sword is being sharpened, man. The sword is a killing instrument. All right, and the mighty day sword, you got the mighty day sword as a firearm. Okay, the most common, mighty day sword. And you have weapons of mass destruction that are considered as swords, as in, once again, killing instruments, which, further, is a further reminder that we're living in a time of war. It's prophesied in Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, in terms of these rumors of wars, prophesied in St. Matthew, the 24th chapter, coming to pass, all right, coming to fruition more and more as we get closer and closer to the end of this devil's rulership, through the rumors of wars, of this last world's war that eventually lead into this last world's war, all right, including, based off of, this last world's war, Armageddon coming to pass. And that's why we keep hearing about these rumors of wars in the meantime. It's a further indication that we're not living in a time of mirth, all right? By way of, Trump, provoking these other nations, such as them Hamites over there in South Africa, into conflict over the whole so-called white farmer genocide propaganda that's, been further proven to be a farce. The conflict between America and the state of, the Israeli state, over the differences of the Syrian sanctions, and over the Israeli state's decision to strike Iran, without the backing of the U.S., all right, the conflict on behalf of, America and Russia over Ukraine, where America recently gave Ukraine, free reign or free passageway to target Russian territory, okay, through that Ukraine proxy war, okay, as of recently. So that's another major stepping stone towards this last world's war. It's another indication that we're living in a time of war, not peace. But yet people are using this so-called Memorial Day, Folly Day today as another excuse to, indulge in mirth. Meanwhile, at least 50,000 people in northeastern Texas had been without power. Okay, then down there in Little River, South Carolina, there was a shooting that hospitalized at least 11 people. And then in Texas and Louisiana, there was a tornado warning, okay, further threatening, the lives, of people in that particular region. Okay, so there's a lot going on. There's another Israeli strike over there within the Gaza Strip that eliminated at least 52 people, including a good number of children, So there's a lot that's going on. Okay, then over here on the east side of El Paso, there's a man that got put to death through another shooting. So there's a lot going on right now, man. Just for to indicate that we're living in a time of war, okay? You can keep reading out Ezekiel 21:10.
All right. This is Ezekiel 21:10.
Mm-hmm.
It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter.
Mm-hmm.
It is furbished that it may glitter. Should we then make mirth? It contemneth the rod of my son as every tree.
Right there. Should we, read that again, Bubba Show?
Mm-hmm. This is Ezekiel 21 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter.
Mm-hmm.
It is furbished that it may glitter. Should we then make mirth? It contemneth the rod of my son as every tree.
Yeah, should we make mirth? Should we make mirth in the time of this near glistening sword? Okay, getting ready to bring that besom of destruction that through that destroying wind in America, the main place of our captivity, the sinful kingdom. All right, that glistening sword. All right, we're referring to these nukes. All right, specifically these 200 million ICBM missile warheads in Revelation 9 and 16 that are going to bring that magnitude of destruction. Okay, it doesn't mean live in fear or live in paranoia, but it's more profitable to live on edge. Okay, as opposed to the masses of these people. Okay, who just live in mirth. Okay, have no idea, just being completely oblivious to what's ultimately going on, and that's the complete deterioration of the state of this world that we're living in. Okay, by way of who's ruling it, controlling every facet of life through the finances. Okay, through the central banks, the IMF. Okay, on behalf of the Zionist international crime banking families, the biblical dukes of Edom. All right, the throne of iniquity. Okay, on behalf of Amalek. The chief family of the Edomites running everything, and Freddie being exposed as the devil the Bible speaks of because of that. Okay, ruling unjustly. Okay, being overbearing and libelous. You know what I'm saying, and impartial in their judgment. All right, Freddie exposing the hypocrisy of the people that runs it. The nation that runs this earth, and that's the Edomites. All right, that's why everything is falling apart. So people started to become more. They're starting to become more aware of that. Okay, and that's why they're looking for a lot of these people looking for an outlet. Okay, through their vices and whatnot. So what what other perfect way to do that than to use these folly days, okay, these so-called holidays as an excuse to get drunk and marry and fire up the grill and whatnot. Okay, which doing those things that I just mentioned, the latter things which I mentioned are not wicked, but when they're done, when they're done in a particular with a particular intention in mind and a particular vibration, is wickedness. Okay, because they're following the ways of the pagan Western Roman Empire. All right, that gluttonous, debaucherous, way of living. All right, living like brute beasts. All right, and this is the lifestyle of Esau, Edom. Case in point, and this is why all hell is breaking loose in this place, this world that we live in. And Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. And you Akim on the common board, Yah by Shimmy Shabbat Thumb. All right, brother Azialer. All right, a brother out there in GMS Orlando, Damawatia, the rest of you Akim, if you Akwath. All right, that are tuning in. You may end up tuning in. All right. So there we know. So should we make mirth? As a brother just read in Ezekiel 21 and 10. No, we shouldn't make mirth. All right. We shouldn't move and live like the rest of these people are living in this world. Because a lot of these people are going to be put to death because they don't understand what time they're living in. Can you get a second Esdras 8 and 52? Mm-hmm. All right. That's why they're going to get caught with their pants down. Okay. Figuratively and in some cases literally. Okay. Because we're entering into a lawless society where the Constitution is, is going to be affected. Ultimately, ended. Okay. And the economy is going to collapse. The only way the internet is really going to be, in terms of telecommunications, mainly through the internet, the internet is really only going to be open to those who took that chip. Okay. Case in point. And that's part of Esau's gradualism. Okay. To psychologically condition people to accept this new way of living through this totalitarian dystopian technocracy. Okay. So while they're developing this satanic new world order agenda behind closed doors through their conspiracies of doing so, people are distracted by the affairs of this life that chokes the word and makes it unfruitful. Okay, until that judgment gets brought upon them. Okay, which can happen suddenly, and this is exactly what is happening, and this is exactly what has happened today through a multitude of shootings. Okay, tornado warnings. People getting put to death over there in West Asia. You know what I'm saying? All kinds of judgments is taking place. Okay, 27 hospitalized after car plows into crowd during Liverpool victory parade. All right, what was that?
The soccer team celebration.
Oh, look at that, soccer team during a soccer team celebration. Okay,
Right.
looks like it's somewhere over there in the UK or something like that.
Right. It was in Liverpool.
Yeah, Liverpool. Yeah, see, so the judgment taking place everywhere, man. And Shalom, the brother Kawas Malak, be like-minded. Brother Kawas Malak put up a precept. 2 Ezra 2:27 says, "Be not weary, for when the day of trouble and heaviness cometh, others shall weep and be sorrowful, but thou shalt be merry and have abundance." Okay, so the people, that are not in a time of, in a sense of troubleness and heaviness right now, for the most part, collectively, are the people that, are living in mirth. All right, especially, privileged people, overprivileged people, mainly on behalf of the Edomite nation, in prominent, prestigious, preeminent positions of living. All right, more so in a financial aspect, not having to care in the world, okay, because they receive the consolation on this side. And this includes wicked two-thirds as well, including those of the circumcision that sold out and took that Judas purse, hence them teaching doctrines of devils, okay, like that fool over there in a One Body in Dallas, spewing his madness and waxing worse and worse, okay, completely botching breakdowns up, what I'm saying, and justifying themselves in their hearts of doing so. Why? Because these people are living it up right now. Okay, because it's a part of that balance, where the people of the Lord, of the circumcision that believe in the Lord, okay, of the elect remnant, they're suffering right now, which way their lot, had preordained for them to suffer by way of. Okay, well, we're within a paradigm shift, okay, where we're going to enter into a time where we're going to be good, okay. Because Yahweh by Shemeshai is going to make sure that is the case through divine intervention. All right, as opposed to the people that receive the consolation inside, living it up through the natural resources and various vices this earth has to offer to please the flesh. They're in their heaven right now. Their condition of living right now. Okay, of prominence and having no care in the world of any death and so forth. Okay. But there's going to come a time where these people are going to be bugging out. As it says in Isaiah 33:6, wisdom and knowledge should be the stability of that times, the perilous times that we're coming into. Terrible times, that is. Okay, where there's no more food like that. There's no more water during the scarcity of these resources. Okay, in the midst of a civil war, people getting put to death. All right, people dropping dead by pestilence. All of these are part of the lamentations, mournings, and woes in Ezekiel 2:10 that a lot of these so-called pastors and evangelists don't minister about. Why? Because they profit off of these smooth words spoken about in Isaiah 30:10. Okay, that prosperity doctrine, and that's another example of mirth. Okay, when you go into it, the Hebrew word for mirth is shawash. Okay. Meaning, I believe it's the Hebrew word I believe for mirth is shawash. All right, which basically means joy. Okay, in the sense of folly. Okay, just being fixated on having a good time all the time. That partying bullshit spirit, and we're not in that time because we're not living in a time where that's profitable, and a lot of these people are gonna have to find it out the hard way. All right, so this is all right. I'll put up. Okay, yeah, we'll get to it in a second. I'm gonna get some more precepts from this brother here. Same brother put up 1 Peter 4:7 says, "But the end of all things is at hand." Okay, it says, "Be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer," and not just in a carnal sense of being sober, okay, but more so in the spiritual sense. Okay, because in a case in point, in a carnal sense, when you're not sober, in the sense of being overly drunk, you're inebriated and your senses are not as exercised. Case in point, there's a balance with everything, but there's just another example. Okay, that's why Noah was taken advantage of, because he got overly drunk, and his daughters, they thought they were doing a noble thing, trying to save, trying to continue, their legacy, trying to continue the civilization through their father, so they lay with their father, which was wickedness, because that was incest. But that happened because our forefather Noah got overly drunk, just for, for the example, in a sense of a carnal drunkenness, of not being carnally sober, but more so in the spiritual sense. We're entering into the times where we're expected to be spiritually sober. Okay. Being unconformed, having our minds unconformed from the madness of this world, and the various different distractions of this world, right? Especially the devices and everything of this world that can easily distract us because we live in the flesh. All right. So this is Saint Brother put up Psalm 19:7. The law of the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yeshai, is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yeshai, is sure, making wise the simple. Verse 8. The statutes of the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yeshai, are right, rejoice in the heart. The commandment of the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yeshai, is pure, enlightening the eyes. Okay, so our eyes are being enlightened, by the the law, statutes, commandments of Yahweh B'Shem Yeshai, that we incline our ears to by way of our measure of faith. Okay, because this is supposed to be the real law of the land, but the wicked are ruling right now. Okay, the law, statutes, commandments were not given to them. You see, it says Psalm the 50th chapter, what is thou to do to declare my statutes? Thou shalt rebel more and more. And this is why ultimately the hearts of evil men are waxing worse and worse. Okay. All right. And of the circumcision, dealing with wicked Israelites, and even outside of the circumcision. Okay. Including, the kings of this earth, of these different nations, especially Esau, the Edomites. Okay. So the people of this world are following after Esau's example. So they're also waxing worse and worse. That's why they're bugging out, making these trendy social media posts, of not being able to make ends meet like they used to, and in a sense of the mortgage and rent payments and being able to afford groceries, because we're within that time, okay, where the earth is continuing to die by age, as it says in 2 Ezra 14 and 17. So brother put up Psalm 19:9. I read that. I think I just read that. I read it again. So the fear of the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yeshai, is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yeshai, true and righteous altogether. All right. And at the water, the brother put up the word H8056 for joy, or mirth in this case, mirth, meaning joy. All right. Pleasure. Okay. That's the magnitude of joy. Okay, that we're speaking about, that this lesson is prefaced off of, worldly joy in a sense of folly, living it up all the time, acting an ass, like they like to say down south. You see, we're not in that time anymore, man. Okay, it doesn't mean, be a stiff and not have a good time, but it's balanced with everything. False balance is abomination to Yahweh B'Shem Yeshai. Okay, but now we're more so in the sense of being spiritually sober. Okay, case in point. All right, so the brother put it up. The water. Second Ezra 14:17. For look how much the world should be weaker through age, so much the more shall evils increase upon them that dwell therein. All right, you go ahead, you bring up that precept. Said 2 Ezra 8:52.
All right, you said 8:52.
Con.
All right, this is 2 Ezra 8:52, and it reads, for unto you is paradise open, the tree of life is planted, the time to come is prepared, plenteousness is made ready.
Salakia, verse 50, Salakia.
Okay. Verse 50. For many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter time shall dwell in the world, because they have walked in great pride. Yep,
many miseries should be done to the vast majority of these people that dwell on the earth. Why? Because they walk in great pride. All right. One of the 6 things spoken about in Proverbs, the 6th chapter, that the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yeshai, greatly despises. You see why? And why are these people in that spirit? Why? Because they're drunk off the wine of fornication, of Esau, Edom. All right, that Western philosophy, through his democracy, his politics, his sexual decadence promoted through the fornication. The scriptures speak about, promoting sodomy, whoredom, through sensationalism. So when you speak out against it, you're labeled a bigot, and so forth. You see, Why? Because we're in a spiritual war. All right. And so we're getting closer and closer to the end of this devil's rulership, where it, is going to be made more apparent. Okay, who's truly down with Yahweh Shemashai and who is not. Okay. So this is why the Lord Yahweh Shemashai is, continuing to purge us from any of the leaven that's within us that can hinder our walk in the straight and narrow path of righteousness, so that way we can truly be considered perfect, spotless and blameless, before His eyes in His wicked world when He returns, okay, to save us, okay, from ourselves and from Esau Edom, okay, within this satanic, hour of our temptation that we're gonna have to ultimately face. Okay, so this is the selling brother put up Isaiah 24:11.
I got a precept too.
Okay, Con. It says, there is a crying for wine in the streets, all joy is darkened, the mirth of the land is gone. Okay, the mirth of the land is gone. Okay, you still got reprobates out here, you know what I'm saying, taking stupid selfies and twerking, mainly Keisha and Big Shirley, even Maria of the Northern Kingdom. You're not exempt. You out here, you out here acting an ass as well, man. Okay, the rest of our people, of the 2/3 that don't know what time they're living in. Okay, because they think this shit is sweet. Why? Because they're under Esau's vibration through his enchantments. Okay, this is why the Lord Yahweh Shemashai sent the prophets out to the highways and hedges, to tear down these strongholds and stumbling blocks and every wicked imagination that is contrary to the righteous instruction of living through the gospel. All right, that's why mirth is leaving the earth. Why? Because can you get Psalm? Hold that real quick, Baba Shah. Get Psalm 85:11. Okay, because the vibration of truth is in the earth. You see, through the gospel, and that's a burden to a lot of these people. That's why they're troubled when they're supposed to be living it up. You see, ironically, they're troubled when this world, under Esau's, really under the spiritual demon Shaitan's satanic vibration, rewards the evil of these people for being wicked, but it punishes the righteous. But yet the people that are supposed to be rewarded for doing evil are suffering and doing the most complaining. Why? Because they spiritually invested in this place. And now they see that the writings are on the wall. More and more they're starting to see that the writings are on the wall, and they're losing hope, so they're bugging out. Okay, go ahead, Doc.
Yep, this is Psalms 85:11. Truth shall spring out of the earth, and righteousness shall look down from heaven.
That's it. Read that again, Baba Shah.
Psalms 85:11. Truth shall spring out of the earth.
Yep.
And righteousness shall look down from heaven.
Yep. Truth shall spring out of the earth. You see, and this is exactly what's happening. Right, and that is why righteousness is springing out in the earth, tearing down the forces of darkness, symbolic of iniquity, sin upon sin, evil. You see, all right. So right now, we're in the time where we still have the liberty on the right hand side of righteousness to do this work. As Yahweh said in St. John 9:4, I must work the works of him that sent me while it is day. The night cometh when no man can work. That nighttime is symbolic of dark times, evil times that's coming, mainly through Jacob's trouble in Jeremiah 30:7. All right, time of civil unrest due to a scarcity of resources. Okay, martial law being mandated. Implemented, all done by design. The Esau's Hegelian dialectic. You see, at the expense of, through the expense of many lives, they're going to look to achieve the satanic NWO, and they're going to fail. But when they, in the midst of their failure, a lot of people are going to be put to death. All right, so to avoid being caught up in that destruction through the Lord's plagues that's going to befall these people, the Lord Yahweh Shemashai, demands perfection. You see. Now, we not in the sense of being perfect like Yahweh Shai, because we can never be perfect like Yahweh Shai, but aspiring to be as perfect as we possibly can be. You see? So that way we're found spotless and blameless when Yahweh Shai returns with the angels, man. Because we were watching, the beloved elders and priests, over there in Dallas, through the hell breakdown, do their live hell breakdown. The brother Anah, the brother, Anand next to me was saying, so many words. I don't know if you remember what you said, but basically the brother was saying, that destruction is coming, and I don't want to be caught up in it.
Right.
Because we were talking about the example, what I'm saying, of when we were kids, and Jake, you were a young Jake, and you being stupid, when you want to see what the fire feels like, the flame on the stove, and you touch it, well, and then you find out the hard way that it's not a pleasant feeling. But that's nowhere near the heat of projected 1,000,000 degrees that a lot of these people are gonna get caught up in and not die right away and be left in that torment. That's a terrible way to go out. But that's going to be the fate of the majority of these people, more so those who take that chip, all right, that bow down and, completely to Esau's beast system, what I'm saying, and fully and completely subjected their souls to the spiritual demon Shaitan through his physical manifestation, the devil, Esau, Edom, the man of sin, the son of perdition, the self-proclaimed white man, you see. So in the midst of these strongholds and stumbling blocks and continuing to be torn down by the spirit of truth, more of these people are going to continue to bug out. Okay, because there's another example that we're living in spiritual warfare. Okay, that's why people come up to the camp and start bugging out. Whether in the distance or up close. Why? Because they have spirits on them. Okay, through Esau's enchantments promoted through his satanic devices, and they get triggered when the word comes out. You see, so more of these people are going to start bugging out, man. All right, go ahead.
This is James 4:4. Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with the Most High? Whosoever therefore would be a friend of the world is the enemy of the Most High.
Yep. If you're a friend of the world, you're an enemy to the Lord. Yahweh by Shem Shai, point blank, period. Okay, that breaks itself down. Well, you see, that's why the book of 1 John, it says that the lust of the eyes and the lust of this world and the love of this world, roughly paraphrasing, is not of the Father. You see, meaning what? If you have an affection for this world, there's no way that you can truly and ultimately have room in your heart and your mind for Yahweh by Shem Shai to sup with you and cleanse you, purge you, okay, from the wicked influence of this earth through our own individual leaven. You see, so that's why the Apostle Paul quoted Yahweh Shai, for what the spirit is willing but the flesh is weak. And that's why we need Yahweh Shai at all times, our spiritual attorney, our mediator between us and the Heavenly Father. You see, when we get weak, we call on Yahweh by Shem Shai, and we call on him regardless. But we're gonna have to lean on him more and more as we get closer and closer to the end of this devil's rulership, because they're gonna get rockier, man. Really, we're privileged right now. We live in West Texas, where the gas prices are extremely low, whereas in other places like in Cali, the gas prices are extremely high. So we getting off light right now, to be honest. You see, but it's gonna come a time where there's no longer going to be the case. Okay, we were talking about that on the way over here, and how really is not going to be a such thing as a middle class anymore. Really, because everyone's going to be on the same playing fields for the most part. Okay, you see. The brother said, the brother was saying how there's thousands, like 20,000 billionaires or whatever. Well, that money don't belong to them; it's just lent to them. You see, they have to render it to Caesar or belong to Caesar as well. You see, so they, at some point, and on top of that, I made a statement how a lot of these so-called carnally wealthy people, they're going to be targeted, because a lot of them are the same individuals that like to flaunt in their and gloat in their pride through their carnal finances and assets, putting their information out there on social media and whatnot. Well, they're going to be targeted by a lot of these faithless, godless people out here. Mainly niggas, to be honest. You see, so we're coming within that time, man. Okay, it's gonna be within a complete lawless, free for all, kill or be killed, cutthroat, get it how you live society. You see, the only ones that are gonna thrive is the elect. Okay, there's gonna be fed, what I'm saying, and taken care of by the Lord Yahweh by Shem Shai through divine intervention. You got something?
Yeah, this is Proverbs 3:5. It says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him and he will make your path straight.
That's it.
You see, so that's what the Lord is looking for us to do, is to submit to him. Don't trust in our own understanding.
Right.
Because we do not have control of our futures. But the Lord, he already sees our future, and we're not able to protect ourselves. But the Lord says that the angels of the Lord encampeth around about them that fear him. So we want to always to be dependent on our Father. That's what a father does for his children. He protects his children. So the Lord wants us to be dependent on him, not to trust in our own understanding, because that's what a lot of people are going to do. They're going to trust in their own understanding. And as I was telling the brother, that there are 2,000 billionaires in the world. And then I think there's probably around 22 so-called African-American billionaires in the world. But like he said, all these people are probably going to be targeted, because the world's going to look for a way, to eat. When they get hungry, those people are going to be targeted.
Right.
So you don't want to trust in that, in your wealth. You want to trust in the Lord to have some protection around yourselves, because he's able to do that. He promised to do that for those that love him. So that's what we want to do, is love the Lord with all of our hearts and lean not to our own understanding.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, let's get that. Psalm 62:10. Because a lot of people, a lot of people are doing that. They're trusting in oppression, unbeknownst to them or not. That's exactly what they're doing. In a case in point, in the sense of trusting in carnal wealth, they're trusting in oppression, because the origin of this carnal wealth, more so through the strength of the currency that's really, currently dominating the earth, currently being a petrodollar, stems back to the 1913 federal tax, the 1913 what's that more decree? The federal I think it was passed by FDR. Okay, well, the wicked elite used FDR to pass it. The Federal Reserve tax or something of that nature. So basically, through that immoral decree, Esau used the fractional reserve banking note, aka the greenback dollar bill, as a debt weapon. That's why, and for example, a lot of these people that go to college, Esau will give them a lot of money to go to college, but then the whole, not realizing the whole objective is for these people to be expected to drop out, so they could be in debt. That's why a lot of people are in debt to student loans and whatnot, because it was a trap. It was a trap from the beginning. Okay. Case in point. So we're literally living in in a trap, in a trapped place, a prison planet. Right. And the Esau's further, looking to develop this place as a prison planet, mainly through America, by closing the borders, okay, regulating everyone's lives through this technocracy, such as Real ID, more gradualism of the chip. You see what I'm saying? Using these tech companies such as Synchron and Neuralink, you know what I'm saying, and Boston Dynamics and these other companies, to gradually push his agenda out there. Okay. Mainly for these people that have spiritually and emotionally invested in this place, because in their eyes, Esau could do no wrong. So they're not easy to sway at all. I mean, they're not difficult, rather, to persuade or sway their minds at all, to be subjected to his will, okay, to bow down before him through his devices, okay. So all these people that, the vast majority of these people that are bugging out right now, complaining about the overall state of this world, being in a plummeting state, further decaying, mainly in America, Babylon the Great, okay, as a further result of these tariffs and so forth. Okay, these Proud Boys and the right wing side of politics out there protesting for, Jake so-called migrants to get deported and so forth. They're already through. Okay, and they're gonna be officially through when they take that chip. Right. You see, so we're approaching the time of the hour of our temptation. All right. In the meantime, we're seeing the Lord tear this place apart, and ultimately by removing, which is ultimately how He's removing the mirth from this earth. Go ahead, Art.
Yeah, this is Psalm 62:10. Trust not in oppression, and become not vain in robbery. If riches increase, set not your heart upon them.
That's it. All right. They trust not in oppression. You see, I mean, be not vain in robbery. Because this place is the house of the thief. All right, the bloody city, the house, full of lies and robbery. You see, it says in Scripture. Nahum 3:1, Habakkuk 2:12. You see, let's get Proverbs 29:24. You see, so if you're a friend of this world, you're really a slave to Esau Edom, and ultimately a slave to the spiritual demon Shaitan through Esau Edom. Okay, like the physical ambassador of the spiritual demon Shaitan, doing his bidding on the earth.
Proverbs 29 and 24.
Con.
Proverbs 29:24.
Mm-hmm.
Whoso is partnered with a thief hateth his own soul.
Mm-hmm.
He heareth cursing and bereaveth it not.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they hear cursing, bereaveth it not. Right, these people that have become partners with this thief, this global thief. Okay, mainly in America, Babylon the Great. And that's just part of Esau's track record. This is how he's being further exposed. Where these other national leaders of these other foreign nations, of the heathen, are even calling him out on such secular history that exposes him. Okay, such as a Chinese political official, some years ago, exposing the fact that Esau had stolen this so-called country from the indigenous. Okay, the true founding fathers. Yeah, but yet he has the audacity to call them migrants, immigrants, and whatnot. All that information is coming out, man. Why? Because we're in an information age. You see, that's So you devils can't run from who you are anymore, to the point to where you're at the point to where you have to come down with great wrath. Okay, knowing that because you know that you have but a short time to look to achieve your satanic NWO. It's prophesied in Revelation 12:12. So while people are distracted, by the affairs of this life, okay, that wrath is going to come from the Lord. Let's go and get that. St. Matthew 24:36. Okay.
All right. This is St. Matthew 24:36.
Mm-hmm.
And it reads, But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only.
Mm-hmm.
But as the day of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
Mm-hmm.
For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until that day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So also the coming of the Son of Man be.
Exactly. So when these people are drinking, marrying, joining together, mainly through sexual illicit activities, aka fornication, through the orgies and the sodomy, man on man activity, female on female activity, a woman on woman activity, the PDF file situation going on, bestiality going on, okay, having a GAYO time, meaning happy, okay, being in that spirit of mirth, okay, our forefather Noah was out there prophesying for 120 years, man. That's a long time. And that's not, which is an understatement, to be out there for that long, okay, and for Jake to not listen, okay, and those are the sons of God back then, okay, the people of renown, the sons of renown specifically, okay, before they would go on to be called the Israelites, indulging in folly, right, being foolish, being stiff-necked and sottish, meaning stupid. Okay, ignoring the warnings from the Lord Yahweh Shemashai in the spirit of prophecy spoken by Noah. Okay, because until that first drop started coming down, okay, then they started considering what Noah was saying to be true. Because niggas have to learn the hard way, man. There's in the degenerates of Israel. Okay, the degenerate plants of Israel, the draw silver of Israel. Okay, the low quality Israelites, as opposed to the fine, the Israelites compared to the finest of gold. Okay, representing the elect remnant. Okay, but a lot of these draw silver Israelites, or these wicked 2/3 Israelites compared to draw silver, they're gonna have to learn the hard way, man. Okay, because they're very impressionable, right? They're very gullible, and they just want to have a good. They just want to play around all day. A lot of these niggas come up to the camp playing around, scoffing, scorning, be on the comment boards doing the same thing until it's no longer convenient for them to do that. when the system shuts down. So that's the same spirit these people was in back then. Okay, so so it's just like in this time, just like in the days of Noah, these people gonna be in the same spirit, partying, drinking, like today, Memorial Day, so-called. And Memorial Day is supposed to be a so-called holiday that was really established by former slaves of mainly the southern kingdom of Israel, so-called Negro men, that were looking to keep the memory alive of dead Union soldiers that they knew that people were going to forget. But yet Esau sensationalizes holidays, so-called holidays. He does the rest of them, and which is why these people perceive this day to be a day of mirth and folly, to as an excuse to get drunk off their ass and act a fool. Okay. But yet, in the midst of that folly and mirth, the Lord Yahweh Shemeshah brought a lot of judgment today, as he always does. Every single so-called holiday, man, he brings judgment. Okay. Go ahead, Doc. Was that it? Did you read verse 40?
This is, okay, yeah, I can go to 40.
Yeah. Read down to verse 40. And well, that's pretty much that on that chapter.
Okay. This is the 40th.
St. Matthew 24 and
42.
No, you can stop at verse 39. Really. Yeah, I think you already read that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can end it off on that then. Yeah, let's get you got something?
You want me to do that 42?
Yeah, let's get that one. Yeah, that's a good one.
So this is verse 42, Matthew 24 and 42.
Mm-hmm.
Watch therefore, for you know not what hour your Lord doth come.
Mm-hmm.
So the Lord wants us to be ready. You see, the Lord told us in 1 Peter 1 and 16 to be ye holy, but I am holy.
Right.
You see, that's what he told us to do. He also told us to serve the Lord in the beauty of holiness. And the beauty of holiness is that, like I said, when you're sons and daughters of the Most High, you have that protection. So you want to have that protection from the Lord, because you really can't protect yourself. You think you can. Some folks are going to grab guns and rifles and all of that. They out there training their children to, by the busloads out in the backwoods, training their children how to shoot guns, preparing for war and all of that. You see, but that's not going to save them. You see? So the Lord comes and he brings that sword against the earth. What is a gun going to do? It's not going to do anything. You see? So the Lord, he knows that he created all of that. And he knows how to put man down. He also knows how to set man up.
Right.
So you're not going to have protection in buying guns and all of that. That's not going to save you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. So that's the time we're living in, man. Right. And that's why, and these nations that go from going to war amongst themselves to trying to fight Yahushua, okay, prophesied in 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, Revelation 19, so forth, they're going to find out the hard way that their carnal guns don't mean anything. Their carnal weapons, rather, including, firearms, so forth, their nukes, their fighter jets, drones, it doesn't compare to the spiritual technology of Yahweh Shemeshai through the chariots, and ultimately the power of Yahweh Shemeshai in general. Okay, so let's get 1 Thessalonians 5 and verse 3.
Okay. See, if they had known.
Oh, Salakia, go ahead and finish your point and get St. Luke 12 and 36.
Okay. See, if they had known when they created the nuclear weapons, the Holy Scripture says that either live by the sword or die by the sword. Mm-hmm. And then here they are. If they had known when they created and bombed Japan that the day would come, but the other nations are now training and preparing to drop a bomb on them. You see, that's because they were lacking understanding of the Lord's will. Now they got to face spending all these billions and trillions of dollars trying to ward off an attack. See, because they were lacking knowledge. All right, what scripture was that?
St. Luke 12 and 36.
Okay, so this is St. Luke 12 and 36.
Mm-hmm.
And it reads, and ye yourselves like unto men that wait for the Lord, when he will return from the wedding, that when he cometh and knocketh, they may open unto him immediately. Blessed are those servants whom the Lord, when he cometh, shall find watching. Verily I say unto you, that he shall gird himself and make them to sit down to meat, and will come forth and serve them.
That's it. So he's going to serve the ones that have been watching. Okay, being conscientious and aware and circumspect of their surroundings in the spirit of prophecy. Okay, watching being watchful of these end time prophecies. As soon as we got up this morning, we just in that spirit, just going through articles and seeing what's going on in the world. Okay, and then lo and behold, a whole bunch of judgment took place in the spirit of mirth. Okay, on this day. Okay, that's another indication that these people are content in worldly affairs. Okay, and because they believe that this is their kingdom. There's no America, Babylon the Great specifically is the end all be all. You see, that's why a lot of these nations, the other heathen nations, like coming over here. Okay, because they know they have it says in Revelation 18 chapter. All right, they've also drunken of the wine of fornication, looking to sit at this devil's table. Okay, so that's why they're gonna wail at the smoke of her torment. Okay, and no longer gonna be able to make money off of this place. Okay, and really anyone for that matter, because we're living in a very capitalistic time. Okay, where there's a lot of commerce going on. Where at the time being, people can use these ride share programs, like such as Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Uber, and and so forth, and as independent contractors make money. Well, we're at the time Esau doesn't want that. You see, so he only allowed it, so to keep people, really to give people that false false perception, or that false hope that they can thrive in this place. Yeah, false security. That's it.
Yeah, it's false security. You got what's the nation of Saudi Arabia giving the United States billions of dollars recently, knowing that all the other nations are turning against them, but they're doing that because they want to be able to sit at his table out of fear that they may be also attacked or destroyed. You see, because they think, oh, the United States has all these weapons, they can destroy us, and things like that. But they're not trusting in the Lord, and they're joining themselves. Just when Columbus came came from the UK or wherever he came from, and landed in the what was known as Azareth.
Yeah, he came from around the area of Spain.
Spain,
because he was a so-called Spanish JEW.
That's right.
Right.
He came from that area to Azareth, also known as the USA. And he came over here and treated those people. You see, but you can't trust the devil. He treated them nice, and they trained them how to hunt, and trained them, taught them everything. Then he turned around and killed all of them. You see. And this devil will do the same thing to these people. That's giving all their money. He'll do the same thing, because you can't. The Holy Scriptures tell you to never trust thine enemy. You see, so they're lacking wisdom, and they'll find that out the hard way.
Yep. Well, a lot of these people are gonna have to find out the hard way, man. And more so our people. But they say in the world, a hard head makes a soft ass. That's right. Okay. Yeah, so like Howard Shah said, man, St. Luke 12:37, blessed are those who are found watching. Now, what spirit are they on? What spirit are they who are watching? Let's get Ecclesiastes 7 from the top. Let's read all the way down to verse 4.
Okay. Ecclesiastes 7?
Yeah, from the top.
All right. This is Ecclesiastes 7:1. A good name is better than precious ointment, and the day of death than the day of one's birth.
A good name is everything. Okay, if you have a stain on your name, you're nothing. Right. Okay, that's why we're walking in the fashion of Yahweh Shai. Okay, who gave up his life. Okay, in his flesh. Okay, all right. For the will of the Lord Yahweh by Shem Shai. All right, because the day of one's the day of one's death is better than the day of one's birth, as our forefather Jeremiah said in Jeremiah 20:14. How he said, "Cursed be the day that my mother Cursed be the day that my mother bare me. Okay, let it not be blessed, in so many words. And so the only reason why we're glad to be alive is because we have the luxury of doing this work. Okay, we don't give a shit about our lives, man. It says in Revelation 12 and 11, you know, that we loved our lives not to the death, because this is not living. We're just existing here. Okay, go ahead.
All right. It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting.
Mm-hmm.
For that is the end of all men.
Oh,
and
man.
the living will lay it to his heart.
That's fire, man. Read that again, Baba Shah.
It is
Salakia, Shalom. GMS Yao Shop, Hopeful Lecture 7. Brother Yao Shop, Yao by Shimon Shah Brakatah. All right, go ahead, Ak.
This is Ecclesiastes 7 and 2.
Yep.
It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting.
It's better to go to the house of mourning than the house of feasting. What spirit are these people in today, collectively? Okay, party and bullshit. Okay, Bacchus, Dionysus and Bacchus spirit. Okay, that debaucherous, gluttonous spirit. Let's get junk off our ass and just act an ass. See, there's no profitability in that. All you're gonna do is just increase inflammation in the body. You know what I'm saying? Kill more brain cells.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And just really just we like sipping. We're not hypocrites. We like sipping. Yeah, how I like sipping. But he more so sip because he was in the spirit of mourning. We more so sip because we're not living here, man. You know, we're not comfortable in this place. You see, because we know this, pursuing Hebrews 13 and 14, we're seeking a continuing city, roughly paraphrasing, and it cannot be found here in this world. You see, nothing but tribulation and misery can be found here in this world. That's really why we drink. That's why Howard Shah drunk or drank. You see, but it's all a balance. These people drink just to drink. Okay, they drink for like recreational purposes, man. You see, and that's all what life is about. That's a part of American culture, Western culture. You see, because that further confirms that America is a splitting image of the pagan Western Roman Empire. Okay, it was all about debauchery, gluttony, idolatry. Okay, that's what all ultimately the worldly vibration of these so-called pagan holidays. You know what I'm saying? Is an ode or reverence of these pagan idols. Okay, we go ahead. Out.
Yeah. For that is the end of all men, and the living will lay it to his heart.
The living shall lay it to his heart.
Right.
Okay, we're alive in Yahweh Shai. We are alive in Yahweh by Shem Shai by Shemar Kakodash, and we're dead in this world. All right. When we came into this truth, we died. Essentially echoing what Apostle Paul said. I tell you the truth, I die daily in Yahweh Shai. Roughly paraphrasing. Case in point. So the more we level up in the spirit, but the more we die in this flesh, and the more the more undesirable we're gonna be to the masses of this world. Okay, go ahead.
Sorrow is better than laughter, for by the sadness of the countenance of the heart is made better.
That's it. The heart is made better when it's going through grief. Right. Okay, because you get stronger in the spirit when you're going through trials and tribulations. When you're born with a damn silver spoon in your mouth, like a lot of these Edomites, there's no room for growth there. You can't grow in comfortability, like they say in the world. Comfort kills kings. You see, so this is why Deuteronomy 8 and 5 said the Lord Yahweh by Shem Shai chastises those who He loves. Otherwise, you're a bastard. You're unclaimed by the Lord. You see, another reason why a bastard dwells in Ashdod. You see, it says in Zechariah 9 and 6. All right, you devils over there, because you're not you're of the natural Gentiles. You're living it up right now because, because it's it's your time to live it up right now, and it's time for the children of Israel not to live it up right now, unless they just, they walk after your example, okay. They trim their ways to seek love, as it says in Jeremiah 2 and 33. You see? Go ahead. The point is verse 4.
Oh, yeah, okay. This is the fourth, I'm sorry.
As you're getting that, I'm going to get this precept on the board. Yahweh put up Ecclesiastes 7 and 4.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Brother Yahweh put up Ecclesiastes 1 and 18. Okay. For much wisdom is much grief. That's to the spirit. and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. See? That doesn't mean go out of your way to become sorrowful or go out of your way to become grievous. Okay, but when Scripture says in the same book in Ecclesiastes, the more with much studying comes more grief, roughly paraphrasing. The more you study, okay, in the spirit of Yahweh B'Shem Shai B'Shem Kakadash, okay, the more you are enlightened, okay, on how vain and wicked this world is, and how non-expedient or unprofitable it is to try to coexist here in terms of seeking validation from everyone. See, like it says, there's another worldly saying, like a worldly proverb, within the context of the lesson we're going into, where it says, it goes, I'd rather be the most comfortable. How does it go, man? I'd rather be the most comfortable. Damn. Yeah, it basically says, it goes. Oh man, it says something like, I'd rather be the most comfortable slave in heaven than be the most comfortable servant in hell, something like that.
Right.
All right, but you got it.
Ecclesiastes
7 and 4. Yep.
7 and 4.
Yep.
Seek not the Lord's preeminence, neither of the king the seat of honor.
No. Ecclesiastes 7 and 4. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They're similar. It's all right.
That's my bad.
That's all good.
All right. I don't know how I got over into that. Just completely lost it. So Ecclesiastes
7 and 4.
Yeah. Give me 1 second there. And
there it
go
is.
Back to it.
Yep.
This is Ecclesiastes 7 and 4.
Gone.
It says, the heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of mirth.
That's it. The hearts of fools is in the house of mirth, like today. And that's why a lot of good number of them people got put to death, because they're not in the spirit of watching these prophecies. Why? And hence watching for Yahweh Shai to come back, which requires one to watch for these prophecies. As it goes into 2 Peter the 3rd chapter, we're hastening the coming of the day of our Lord Hamashiach Yahweh Shai to deliver us from this hellhole. Go ahead.
It is better to hear the rebuke of the wise than for a man to hear the song of fools.
Yep. And ultimately, this ultimate song is his word. That's the song that we're singing. Okay, that would be in the mouth of the elect. And that was it.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's end it off in 1 Thessalonians 5. We're gonna have our fun when it's time. Okay.
Right.
We were talking about that earlier. What everything this world has to offer cannot, compare to the joy that we will have in the presence of Yahweh Shai. Just being in His presence is everything. It's more than everything. Let alone sipping that 2,000 year plus about a yayan He has reserved for the elect. Autumn righteous are of that remnant. So so that's why we're fighting to make our calling election sure, to enjoy the fruits of our labor when it's time. Go ahead. 1 Thessalonians 5 and 3.
This is 1 Thessalonians 5 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them.
Yep.
As travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape.
Yep. So the sudden destruction shall come upon these people, just like a woman in travail with child. Through going through those great birth pains. Right. Okay, just wanting to hurry up and deliver that child. Shortly after her water breaks, so she can be done with that misery. Right. That great discomfort in the body for how to deliver that child. You see, similar to the sudden destruction falling upon these people, being like a sting, being extremely uncomfortable, and that's going to be the experience of the vast majority of this world. Okay, because they're not used to that spirit. They're not used to conflict and disappointment. Oppression, affliction. Right. Okay, you're not used to none of that, but it's gonna come in full circle, in a well wrapped package. See what I'm saying? And it's gonna be delivered to them all at once, and that's gonna be overwhelming for them. That's why a lot of these people are gonna commit suicide. It's prophesied in Revelation 9 and 6, right? Because they're in the spirit of feasting right now, as opposed to the spirit of mourning, because it's more, because it's more profitable being in the spirit of mourning for Yahweh B'Shem Shai to draw closer to us. Okay, let's go ahead and get that in Psalm 34 and 18.
This is Psalms 34 and 18.
Mm-hmm.
Second there.
Mm-hmm.
And it reads, "The Lord is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart, and saveth such as be of a contrite spirit."
Just read that again, Baba Kasha.
So Psalms 34 and 18.
Yep.
The Lord is nigh unto them
Mm-hmm.
that are of a broken heart.
Right there. The Lord Yahweh Shemeshah is nigh to them that have a broken heart, a broken spirit. Okay? You know, these curses, man. All right? It says in 2 Ezra 15 and 8 how these very people, the elect of the nation of Israel, are crying out to the Lord Yahweh Shemeshah to put an end to this shit already. It says in Psalm 94 chapter, "How long, O Lord? How long will the wicked triumph?" Roughly paraphrasing. Now, now, case in point, you know, pursuing Micah 7-9, we understand we earned all the hell we went through. Because Yahweh by Shemeshah offered us everything. All we had to do was just comply and be obedient to his righteous instruction. You know, but we're in the flesh, and he understands that. You know, he wants us to cry out to him. That's why we're in the position that we're in. That's why the majority of us are living paycheck to paycheck. Okay? The majority of us, you know what I'm saying, are going through, different trials and tribulations, whether it be ailments in the flesh, whatever the case may be. Okay? So the Lord Yahweh Shemeshah can draw closer to us, man. Okay? To us, to our contrite spirits, our broken spirits in this place. Okay? Go ahead.
And saveth such as be of a contrite spirit.
That's it. This is whom he's going to save. Those who he broke down. Those who understood the significance, the spiritual significance of suffering. Okay? His brother put up 2 Corinthians 1:5. "For as the sufferings of Hamashiach abound in us, so our consolation also abounded by Hamashiach." So we're going to receive our consolation in due time. The wicked are receiving a consolation right now. It's said in St. Luke 6 verses 24 to 25. See, so they don't know. They don't really see the mourning, the spirit of mourning. You know, within those who dwell in the house of mourning is foreign territory to these people. It's far fetched to them. You see, because of the facade that Esau has given it, mainly in America, Babylon the Great, through that theme of America, that satanic theme of liberty and justice for all. Meaning what? You have the freedom or liberty to be whatever you want, lay down whatever or whoever you want, worship whatever or whoever you want. Just be a beast. Be a brute beast like me. Esau, Edom. See that? That's Esau's message to those who dwell in the spirit of feasting. So they're not easy. It's not difficult to persuade these people. See, that's why the spiritual demon Shaitan goes after the strong ones through these dreams or whatnot. You see, because because it's of the intentions of further breaking down the spirit. Because that further confirms that the spiritual demon Shaitan works for the Heavenly Father Yahweh on the left hand side. You see, that's why the Heavenly Father allowed Shaitan, the spiritual demon Shaitan, to be sicked on our forefather Job like a loose pit bull, because he knew that Job wasn't going to fold through those trials and tribulations, that morning, okay, that affliction, because his heart was pure to the Lord Yahweh by Shemeshah through his measure of faith. All right, that's why that's why our forefather King Solomon prayed for those spiritual gifts such as faith and wisdom. That's how we become, more imperfect, or in this case, rather more perfect, for lack of a better term, by way of our, by way of becoming more dead to this world. And that can only happen by way of us being broken down. So the Lord Yahweh Shemeshah can cleave on, can draw nigh to us, and we can cleave on to him more and more, which, we're being further prepared to do that through the shit that we're going through right now, through the trials and tribulations and so forth, dwelling in the house of mourning. So that way, when during a time where it really counts, during the hour of our temptation, we could truly cleave on the Lord Yahweh Shemeshah with a sincere heart, as opposed to a disingenuous heart, like the majority of these people. That's why it says in Amos 5:18, woe unto you people that desire the day of the Lord, roughly paraphrasing. Yeah, because they have a false perception of the Lord. He's just all happy-go-lucky. He's not capable of wrath. See, we brought that out last night at camp. 1 John the 3rd chapter. Okay, these people, the vast majority of these people, it speaks about how the vast majority of these people don't know the Lord. Because they've never been through shit.
I have no idea.
But they will. Okay, everyone's gonna go through that hour of temptation, but it's the Lord Yahweh Shemeshah that's preparing the hearts for his men. Okay, I mean those who love him. Okay, the elect, men, women, children, and men, women, and children of the elect. All right, shalom, brother GMS through the fire too. Yahweh Hashem and Shabrakatah. All
See,
right.
the Lord said, "Blessed are the meek in heart,
Uh-huh.
for they shall inherit the earth."
That's it.
You see, that's how you're gonna. That's who the Lord's gonna give everything that He created to. He's gonna everything. All of this is gonna be up under the power of His Son, and if we're sitting up under His the power of the Son, His
Right.
Son,
Yep.
then will we also rule up under Him as kings and priests.
That's right.
See, and that's how that's going to work out.
Let's get Acts 14 and 22. Matter of fact, you read that right there. That's fire right there.
It says Psalms 34 and 19.
Yep.
Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivereth him out of them all.
Oh, look at that. Many are the afflictions of the righteous. Many are the afflictions of the righteous. It's not fun to go through turmoil and displeasures and discomforts in the flesh, but look, it's nowhere compared to what Yahushua had to go through, and yet he considered his yoke as light for us. So like he said, he told us the servant is not above his Lord, not above his master. We all have our own individual lots to go through, you know what I'm saying, but we already have the victory in Yahushua to go through them. You see, let's get Acts 14 and 22. See, so many are the afflictions of the righteous, okay, whether it be poverty, ailments, oppression, affliction through various different forms and so forth, and ultimately it's ultimately under the curses, man.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
This is Acts 14 and 22, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that we must through much tribulation enter into the kingdom of the Most High.
That's it. That sums up the entire lesson. Through much tribulation shall we enter into the kingdom of the Most High God, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. Right. That's why he's breaking us down right now, by way of what he knows what we can handle. As it says in Corinthians, he said, he would never give us more than what we can handle. All right, I think that's the 1st or 2nd Corinthians 13 and 10 rather. Pardon me, Salakia. But that's pretty much the lesson, man. Want to make it too long, but you know what I'm saying. Just in the spirit to go into this topic, especially if we believe through the spirit, power how by Shem Shah is pertinent in the times we're coming into. So I don't know, this lesson was for the edifying and exhorting to elect, with the water, if you are tuning in, and as well as the precept adding on to the lesson. And going to give all praises, glory, infinite honor to our power, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakakudash. All right, once again, double honors to the apostles and elder bishops, great millstone, who teach and rule well, and peace, and salutations, all right, to the elect, all right, of the house of David, of the nation of Israel, all right, chiefly the house of David, the 144,000 elect, a governing body of the men of the 1/3 elect remnant of the nation of Israel, along with the rest of the 1/3 elect men, women, and children of Israel. All right, that a ball soon and very soon. Shalom to the elect, and on to the next one.
Shalom,
Shalom, a ball.